I want to touch on that manager real quick before you go to your next point. I mean, that is so critical. Like right now, I'm the vice president, business development, sales teams under me, stuff like that, with my role with Sador, SAP Platinum Partner. But if I close a deal for a sales rep, I never take credit for it. I make sure that sales rep gets the credit. I'm trying to build their momentum up. I don't need to take credit for anything because my sales team and their numbers and their results speak for me. And that's how I am. And it sounds like your manager was probably of that sort of mentality as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He wasn't interested in getting numbers individually. He was interested in the team succeeding. He knew that, like any leader, if all parts of the team are succeeding, then you're succeeding. Just exactly what you said, basically. And, he was real integral in teaching me the basics of selling. And I basically have taken that over time, and either in companies that I've started or companies that we do business with, teach them how to convert leads into customers, and then how to present offers that are so valuable that people want to give you a lot of money, which, those two things, if you figure them out, you will make a lot of money, along with, being a giver and not a taker. So I grew up poor. Like, my parents, when I was growing up, like we lived in a house, the rent was like $70. Now, it wasn't the 70s and the 80s, but still, a $70 rental isn't that much. Our monthly income most months was like $300-$400. We did a lot of things to make money, delivering phone books, which, that's kind of funny now.
I haven't seen a phone book in a while. When's the last time you saw one?
A few years ago, we haven't delivered at the office, which makes no sense to me. But I saw one then, and then that was probably the last time. But I wasn't given anything in life. I had to go out, figure out what I wanted to do, and go get it. And I think that gave me, I consider my superpower to be persistence. I don't give up.
I just want to mention, I'm 10 years younger than you, and I went a little bit different of a path. My audience knows I went to Mexico when I was 18, but the sales, the business side of it, same exact story almost. You can swap you and me out. And for many, many years, I was kind of just stuck. Now, part of that was because we were in the Great Recession and it was hard to find good jobs at that time. The other part was I just couldn't find the mentors or the leaders to help me break through to the next level. And when I finally did, that's where the floodgates opened. All my life I always dreamed like, hey, if I could just make 100K, I'm made for life, And then I hit 100K. I'm like, what? Like, this ain't not that, and then it's like, you get the 300-400K and then you're like, okay. And then once you get to that, you want to keep moving up, but it takes a while and you have to break through a lot of barriers, fighting tooth and nail. Very few people are lucky to where those things are given to them. It's done by the individual and the individual successes of fighting for those results to be able to move up the ladder, but they are possible. I think you and I are both living proof of that.
Great points too. I mean, the ability to overcome is something that's often overlooked by people who kind of are voyeurs and look at your life. I don't know about you, but I hear a lot, I wish I had your life, or I wish I had your life for one day. And I always say to my wife, not to them, do I get to pick the day? Because if I pick the day, you ain't gonna like it, right? There is something to be said for success and how people get there. And you mentioned, having mentors and people that you look up to. I was fortunate, even though, I grew up poor and I overcame a lot as a child. I had a couple of teachers in high school that saw something in me, and they were always very positive in terms of telling me that I can accomplish stuff. And I never really had that.
I didn't have that in high school. I ended up being a high school dropout. I got it my GED, which I believe it or not, I got my GED actually a month before my class actually graduated, which was insane. As soon as I turned 18, I got the GED. It was like May 7th is my birthday. So like 2 weeks later was a test. I went for it and passed it easily. So I got my GED and then went to Mexico and just built my way up. I only went to college after at the end of the Great Recession, which was part of the hardest times of my life. I'm living in Mexico, commuting every day to San Diego for work, and then studying 4 or 5, 6 courses at a time with Penn State's World Campus. But I did the sacrifices. You know, we didn't have a social life for a couple of years. It was very, very, very hard. But between that and the mentorship I got in between, it really got a high school dropout to being, you know, the VP of business development in a nearly $1 billion company globally.